can't. I don't know how this will ever be fixed. Honestly, unless they break up.
Everyone wants it somehow, don't they? They'd hate it, and yet they love it.
The hottest guy we've not heard of yet, which makes it even more exciting.
But you will soon.
I completely agree with that. I think he's handled it really badly and has been really badly advised.
So now we've got the question around this lost series of MasterChef.
I am going to hell for saying this, but...
This is Showbiz Fix, where the Sun Showbiz team gives you the inside track on our biggest celebrity scoops and lay out the lowdown on everything you're loving in the world of entertainment this week. We're going to be chatting about what's hot on TV right now, everything Oasis, and delve into the drama over on MasterChef. But first, it's Harper Beckham's birthday today, and that might mean a whole lot more than just a big fat cake. Ellie Henman, what is the latest on Britain's first family?
Well, we all know, obviously, this huge Beckham feud that's going on, and it's been a nightmare. It won't stop rumbling. And we did say the last time I was on Showbiz Fix with you, I said, I think Harper Beckham could be the key to fixing this. And it's true. So Brooklyn has reached out. So I spoke to his publicist this morning and I said, is he going to say something? Is he going to coast? Because notoriously, he's ignored David Beckham's birthday. He's ignored Victoria on Mother's Day. But for Harper, he's stepped out. Shots have been fired. So I know Camp Beckham aren't particularly happy about this. They believe it's performative.
Oh.
You know, bear in mind, I mean, this thing is so messy that they've always accused the Beckhams, Brooklyn and Nicola's side, of all these performative social media posts. Then they've almost posted the most performative one you could ever imagine. So I think it's both sides are chomping at the bit again and getting very angry. But if you look at it on face value and what we know, Brooklyn adores his little sister. She's like the apple of all their eyes. They're so protective of her. He loves her and he's put it out on social media.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Maybe he has just put a post up for his little sister.
Exactly. But the thing is, we're all reading into it because we all know in celebrity, there's no such thing as a simple post on social media. Something means everything. And I just think they use social media in a very clever way to put their point across. Snubbing your parents, but then talking to your little sister, you know. But apparently there's still no contact. Absolutely none. So even though he's posted, there has been no contact. He's not like knocked her out a text.
Do you know what I was thinking? Do you think that they've all got Brooklyn set up as like a notification on their phones so that when he posts, it pings up Brooklyn Beckham has posted?
Everyone just desperately checking. No, the whole thing's really sad. It's almost like, I can't believe we're still talking about it and it's still carrying on because the PR, you know, I feel sorry for both their PRs because it's a real mess. And obviously the first question I asked this morning, is he going to post? Well, yes, he is. And then it all starts up again. So both sides, I mean, I can imagine the Beckham's PR isn't best pleased because it's all getting raked up again. And Brooklyn and Nicola's PR is pretty tired of it as well because all it is now calls waking them up in the middle of the night in Los Angeles asking about their clients. It's tough.
And he can't win either because if he doesn't post something, he looks cold and mean. And if he does post something, it gets scrutinised and it's seen as something performative. But he has to do one or the other. He can't do neither. You know?
No, and what I find really interesting is that he chose to do a story. Now, this sounds ridiculous, but if you actually look at Brooklyn and Nicola's Instagram posts, his especially, there are thousands of comments and it's all people digging him out and saying, why have you chosen your wife over your family? You're a horrible man, like blood's thicker than water. I feel like he did a story because he didn't want a post about his lovely little sister just being inundated with thousands of comments from people judging him and giving their 2 cents. I think he's very protective over her. So I think, you know, people say, oh, it's only a story. And I think he's done that actually to protect her because he doesn't want people slagging him off in front of his sister.
Oh, he just can't do right for doing wrong, can he?
No, he can't. I don't know how this will ever be fixed. Honestly, unless they break up. I just don't think it's going anywhere. There is so much bad blood now. They're never going to be able to sit down with Nicola and have a cosy Christmas dinner. Like, it would be so awkward and so false. And no matter, even if both sides said, right, we're just going to put everything aside and be one big happy family, never going to happen.
Do you think this is all because of, or largely continued by social media though? Because I do think that these things get played out and then they get continued. You know, someone makes a comment here, someone makes a comment there. If this was a feud that took place 20, 30 years ago, do you think it might have been over and done and dusted by now? Or do you think that social media is a really toxic forum for this kind of thing?
No, I think that's such a good point. It is a toxic forum in that regard. Because you're so right. Before, the feud would come out, you'd have one side, the other side, both sides after a week it would have died down, it would have ended. But social media does keep fueling it. And obviously then you've got Cruz Beckham, who's very much a sort of James Blunt comedian on social media. And he loves throwing little digs in here and there. They're not nasty, they're just comical digs.
What's he been saying?
Oh, someone put... He's obviously a musician, and he put something up on TikTok like, here I am, like here's like a snippet of my new track. And someone commented underneath, another new career. And he was like, you've got the wrong brother. Poking fun at Brooklyn for the photography, now the cooking, and God knows what else he's going to do next. So he loves it.
Yeah.
It's very banterous. But I think for David and Victoria, this whole thing must be really painful because he's still not in contact with them. And I just think they were such a tight-knit family for so long to suddenly have lost their son. As then that's how they view it. They very much.
You never know, though. I guess this could be seen as the first olive branch. There might be a conversation later. You never know.
I hope so, but from the calls I've had today, it doesn't sound very promising. It sounds very unpromising.
But Ellie, you got your crystal ball out last time and you said back when, last month?
Yeah, last month.
Before?
I did say, I was like, I believe this will be, the olive branch will come on Harper's birthday.
Yeah.
And here we are. Happy 14th birthday, Harper.
Yeah.
The olive branch has been laid out.
Happy birthday, Harper. Sorry, it's become about everyone else.
So true. As if her mum and dad aren't famous enough. Now her brother's taking over.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Oh my goodness me. Well, I'm glad that we're all up to speed on what's happening with the Beckhams. More on that probably next week because it's just endless.
Oh, endless.
The other big thing that's taken over this week is obviously completely different, but Gregg Wallace over on MasterChef. So this is a story that at The Sun we have been on from the start. So Ellie, it all began last year.
Yeah, so we led the way with this story. We were the first out of the blocks. I think it was, sort of at tail end of last year that someone got in touch with us and said, Gregg Wallace's bad behaviour is going to come out soon. There's, allegations been floating around. And they told us about an incident way back in 2018 on a show called Impossible Celebrities, where he'd been accused by a young woman of just really inappropriate behaviour, stuff that we now know the allegations have been repeated by other people. People have said, this happened to me too. Taking his clothes off in front of her, inappropriate comments, jokes about his sex life, things like that she found deeply unedifying. And we ran that. And we were the first to do it and say that this is what's happening. We then got in touch with the BBC News investigations team, who've done an incredible job with their work, got in touch with myself, Clemmy Moody, and we shared information, we talked about what we had, and we sort of went on from there. And then obviously we had that Gregg stepped down, and then I know that you guys have had some amazing scoops on it as well, and the stuff that's been happening. 'Cause, we know he's been cleared of groping, the most serious allegations, but the evidence still stands. I don't think Gregg Wallace is a very nice person. Let's be frank. I don't think he is. He puts on this, I'm a happy greengrocer. This is my vibe. It's learned behaviour or whatever it is.
So Gregg's point on all of this, and he sort of got the ball rolling this week. We knew that the BBC and Banijay, the production firm on MasterChef, had launched an investigation into his behaviour. And we knew that was coming. But Gregg almost hit explode before that landed, right? By posting a statement on social media himself where he said that, they hired a greengrocer, they wanted the banter, and now that's not okay.
But for me, there's a firm line between banter and inappropriate behaviour. That's something we talk about at work a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of banter on the showbiz desk, as you'd imagine. Of course there is, but there's a real fine line.
About your chav outfit today.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, I do. It's because it's
Oasis. Let's be clear, it's an Oasis outfit. It's not quite a chav outfit.
But I do look a bit shabby. but there's a really fine line. And I think what we find now more than ever, and I'm sorry, I do find it a lot with men, is that they use that as an excuse for their behaviour. It's just banter. And I think we all know what banter is, and we all know it's inappropriate. And I just think, stop making excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, there's lots and lots of greengrocers out there that are going to be severely offended by this.
I know,
to suggest that
right?
just because you sell vegetables, you can be offensive and all that kind of thing. And also, there's lots and lots of people that work in TV and journalism and industries that start off doing something else.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you can then take that kind of culture and slot it into something else. There are certain things you should and shouldn't do and can and can't do.
Greengrocers across the country not allowed to sell their lovely pears anymore and all of that.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit...
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
Lots of people start off in different jobs and it's not an excuse ever.
So, Rod McPhee, TV editor, bring us up to speed on what's happening on that side of things.
So, the report that was started last year has now concluded. It hasn't been published, but the people who've been conducting the report, an independent firm of lawyers, have obviously been getting in touch with people. We have some idea of the contents, and as a result, he has gone. But he immediately took to social media this week, clearly to try and control the narrative, to say it was a terrible injustice. He admitted that he was basically using inappropriate language. But going back to what we were saying before, he sort of tried to infer that it wasn't really his fault. You know, and he started bringing his autism into it and sort of saying, well, you know, that contributed to me talking like this and behaving like this because his autism meant that he couldn't quite deal with social cues that the rest of us can deal with. But it's all very messy and murky. And then today there was friends of his saying that the reason why he didn't wear underwear was down to his autism. Hypersensitivity caused by his autism, and the fact that he didn't wear underwear was one of the reasons why some people found him a little bit inappropriate and sleazy. Because you remember he made this remark that he didn't wear underwear when he was on Strictly.
Yeah.
And then I think there was another incident where he was going on and on about not wearing underwear. Anyway, this is all down to his autism. And I don't know about you, but I just find it highly suspect.
Well, it's wildly inappropriate to blame that.
I was about
Another
to say,
inappropriate thing.
Exactly, and that's the same back to your greengrocers. What is that saying? You know, does that suddenly give everybody a license if you have autism to say, well, I'm actually going to do something deeply inappropriate, but it was my autism. But there also that does beg the question. When you were talking, I was thinking, why was no one at Banijay or the BBC saying to him, I think you need to tone that down a bit? But they come back to that thing that the BBC has this real problem with big stars and talent. Yeah. How do they control their talent? No one says anything to the talent. Look at Hugh Edwards. No one says anything to the talent. God forbid we upset the talent.
They're terrified. I mean, we were talking about this week with some people in the industry, and the things, when you're making a TV show, you have, say, 100 people on there. The one person, or the two people, say, in this case, that you can't annoy and have walk off set are John Turode and Gregg Wallace, because everything grinds to a halt. So they're all terrified that these people will be upset or offended. So they end up pandering to them because they are the keystone to the whole show. But that doesn't excuse bad behaviour.
No. So now we've got the question around this lost series of MasterChef.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with it.
So this was filmed last summer. It's a civilian series. And what we're hearing is that there's this now a huge crisis at the BBC about what to do with it. They shelved it during the investigation, but now do they can it and ruin the dreams of all of these amateur cooks who gave up time, money, time off work, all of that hopes and dreams to take part, hoping for a career, to be sort of spawned from this? Or do they pop it on iPlayer, where people would then be electing to watch Gregg? So there's a level of sort of admitting that they're comfortable to watch him, given everything. What do they do?
They are stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if they do air it on BBC One, it means that people will be reading all this week, and probably for several weeks, about this man, Gregg Wallace, and his inappropriate behaviour. And then they'll be clicking on their TVs and seeing that man on their screens. And even if that's heavily edited, you will still have this bizarre situation where he will disappear from 90% of the scenes. And then every now and again, you'll sort of see his hands pop up in a scene, or his legs, or he'll be in the background. You'll be like haunting the studio, you know. So it makes it almost worse, not better. And then if you put it on iPlayer, you're not piping it into people's homes and people get to choose. But as you say, Flick, it's a case of, what about all those people that took part in the show? And it's my understanding that they could now take legal action against the BBC as a result of this, because of course they all gave up their time. Some of them, when they get in the later stages, actually quit their jobs because they're so sure that MasterChef will lead to them getting bigger things within the culinary world. But of course, if you don't show this on a prime time show on BBC One, they're not going to get that launch pad. So they're going to say, why did I do this show? Why did I put out all this money and time? I'd like some compensation, please.
I bet the BBC are absolutely cacking it about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I heard from my source that this is now with Tim Davies. So it's all the way at the top, and he's got this big decision to make as to what to do with this Lost series. So
Tim Davies probably got like the most stressful job.
Yeah.
If you actually think about it, like he's had the Lineker stuff, and that's obviously been really, really tough.
BBC Breakfast.
Oh my God, that was incredible.
That
like,
we've been reporting
endless.
on.
Gregg Wallace.
Bit of Wyn Evans thrown in there as
Evans.
well. Yeah. He must have like a Valium dispenser in the corner of his office.
Who's paying for that therapy bill? Ellie, last thing on this, your inbox has been full through all of this reporting with various other people complaining, right?
Massively. I mean, I remember when we spoke to the BBC about this, and me and Clemmy sort of beavered away on it for months and months and months. And we didn't put a call out to people. People just came to us. And I was being contacted by people, not just in TV, but other journalists, people that have worked with him, for example, when he was a columnist at the Daily Mail, getting in touch to say, well, actually, there was this party and this happened, and I want you to write about it. And it was endless. The numbers of people obviously the Sun news desk have an amazing phone where people can ring in and tell stories. They were also calling that phone off the hook and saying, this is what happened to me too. This was industry wide, you know, and I get it. Like has he apologised for he did apologise for the inappropriate use of language.
Yeah, as a qualified apology though, as it often is.
I just think if I was advising him, it would just be shut up, let it blow over, just make some moves elsewhere, but solidly apologise. Don't blame it. Don't try and say, I mean, he's really gone for the BBC. I saw in that statement, you know, they've sort of ruined my life, and I'm clickbait for them. I'm clickbait for the BBC, and I think you're not. The BBC.
Well, he's blaming BBC, his autism, his market stall. What else?
Just go and do your online fitness, Greg, because they love it. I just think just go focus on that. Just shut up.
And I also think that if he did the solid apology and just said, you know what, I'm a little bit older than you know, a lot of people on TV. I realise my language is perhaps seen as a bit old school, a bit inappropriate, but you know, that's the way I was brought up, etc., etc. It's not an excuse, though there is a reason. I think a lot of people will go, well, fair enough.
And I completely agree with that. I think he's handled it really badly, and he's been really badly advised.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Two people that haven't handled things badly yet. Oasis. Let's move on to something jollier.
Oh my God, they were amazing.
So you were there in Cardiff for night one of the huge reunion tour.
Yeah, I feel like I was the luckiest girl in the world to do night one of Oasis, and it was fantastic. I remember speaking with Dominic Mohan, who's ex-Sun, ex-Bazaar editor as well, before the show, and just talking to him about what the set list would look like, what certain songs meant. Like Acquiesce, obviously, is all about the brothers coming together. I remember him saying to me, this is how they normally come out. Because obviously I've never seen Oasis live. I've watched Noel many times. I've watched Liam many times, but never together.
Bragging about your youth here, Ellie.
Yeah, bragging about, well, I'm 36 now. But yeah, I never got to see them in concert, obviously. I was at primary school.
All right, move on.
But to see them, I mean, my jaw dropped when I watched, and you see them coming out with his arm around Noel. And you think, oh my gosh. And I obviously was filing live on Edition. We did 2 editions of the paper that day. They were all live straight from the concert. And it was just mesmerising to see it, and then to see them come off stage hugging again. But they are being very tactical about this. We know they're 2 grown men. They've had a lot of issues. They're very happy. Camp Oasis is very jolly, but they are being very clever about not spending too much time together.
How is this working then? Give us the scoop on what's going on backstage.
So what they're doing is they are together backstage, but probably not for a huge amount of time. We know they're arriving to the shows separately. You know, they're not staying in the same hotel. There's no tour bus. They're getting cars in and out as soon as they come off stage. I remember seeing them come off. They waved to the crowds. It was Noel and Liam and Debbie, Liam's fiance, was there too. And then a car literally was waiting inside the stadium, and Liam got in and it drove off. So he's being very he's not hanging around at gigs. This is very much, this is work for them. It's very professional. They want to give the shows the best they can.
They're protecting the $400,000 investment that fans have made in those tickets, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but those tickets are worth every penny. And I remember when we were outside, before the show, I was hanging around in Cardiff, chatting to fans, and people had come from all over. It's like South Korea, Japan, Argentina. Like, it was wild. Like, Australia, people had come, but everyone, when we said, why have you come to the first night, said, well, it's in case they break up. There is no...
Everyone wants it somehow, don't they? They'd hate it, and yet they love it as
they
well.
They want the drama. I just don't think there's going to be any drama. I think if they keep it as it is, which is just cordial, friendly, go on, smash the set, hug, come off, done. But I mean, Heaton Park, obviously Friday.
Manchester.
In Manchester.
It's going to go off.
It's going to be absolutely huge. I think they're the homecoming shows. I feel like in Cardiff, we were sort of pottering around and there were people in opposing pubs singing songs to each other. It was very jolly. but I don't think it was wild. Whereas I think Manchester's going to be insane.
Eek.
Yeah, it's like take some painkillers and some sun cream.
Well, let's talk top tips. So you've been there. When should people be going to the loo? Where's a good gap? What's the sitch?
Personally, if you love Oasis, take an Imodium and just don't go for a wee. Or take a she wee. Or have a bottle and have a tactical wee in the bottle while you're standing, because I think you want to see the whole set, but we know they aren't changing the set list. So I think if you're someone who sort of, when they break the seal, can't stop weeing, look at the set list and pick your songs.
Yeah.
Because there is a slowed down section when obviously it's just Noel's part and he just talked tonight, half the world away. It's really lovely. If you're not a fan of that, then's your wee break.
Okay.
But I think second half of that show, you want to stay till the end because the encore is absolutely incredible.
What's the encore?
Wonderwall and Champagne Supernova.
Oh.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Amazing. So Manchester, get ready.
Yeah, get ready. I mean, I would just drink a lot of water and just take preventative painkillers all day because it's going to be so hot and you're going to be so drunk.
You needed a lot of assistance this weekend though, because you went straight from Oasis to Black Sabbath.
Oh my God, I did. And I stayed in the worst hotel room in Newport you could ever imagine. To then find out that someone from News was staying in Celtic Manor. I was in like a basement. My room had a fire door.
And you are bizarre editor.
Oh, no expenses spared.
No respect.
Someone get HR on.
We did Glastonbury, then we went straight to Cardiff, did Oasis, and I drove the next day, to go and do Black Sabbath, and that was incredible. For heavy metal fans, you're talking like 10 and a half hours of back-to-back heavy metal music. And it was incredible how quickly they turned it around. So you'd have like Anthrax come on, they do their 2 songs, they come off, set change, Lamb of God come on. And it's amazing. So at 9:12, Ozzy came out. But I mean, I saw Ozzy last year. They flew me out to the Hall of Fame to do a little chat with him to celebrate because he was inducted the second time. Obviously, I flew out to Cleveland. And when we got there, my room was all set up and I sort of got a tap on the shoulder and they were like, we're really sorry. Like, he just can't do it. And I was like, no worries. Like, we know Ozzy's had some really difficult and challenging health issues. When I saw him on stage, then I felt so sad. He looked like an old man who was struggling with his health. And I found it really difficult to watch. So going into this show, I was thinking, gosh, I wonder how he's going to be. Oh, I ate my words. He was incredible. So obviously we know now he's using a wheelchair and he has that amazing back thrown. So he looks absolutely brilliant. The voice was unchanged. You know, he doesn't sound like Ozzy 30 years ago, but no artist sounds like they did 30 years ago. No. But he was great. His speech was amazing. His vocals were brilliant. And like, it was just like a son, like Birmingham love Ozzy, like that he is their son. And to see them welcome him back, I mean, 40,000 people chanting his name. And he got really visibly emotional at points. And you could see it because he knew that was his last ever show with Black Sabbath. I mean, he's saying, I'll be back on stage. But I think if he carries on like he is, yeah, he absolutely will.
I love it.
But it was it was an astonishing turnaround.
That video also that then dropped the next day of Kelly Osbourne being proposed to by her fella, Slipknot, I believe he's in.
Yeah, and it was so sweet because there's a point when Sharon like nudges Ozzy like, it's happening now. And you see him looking up like, oh yeah.
And he's on. He looks great. And he says, fuck off, you're not marrying my daughter. And it's so good.
It's brilliant. I just think the spark's definitely not gone from him. He's an amazing man. And I think that for the health issues he has, obviously he lives with Parkinson's. We know that obviously he had that accident on the quad bike, which has really affected his health. Even all these years on, you know, he's had a really hard time. And you think, to get up on stage. And bear in mind, he came on and did a 20-minute set. And I remember I text Barbara Sharon, who's looking after the shows, and obviously Mo and his team, amazing team at Live Nation, saying, you know, I've seen he's scheduled in for a 20-minute set. Is he actually singing? And no one replied. And I thought, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah. And then he came on and did sing. So he did 20 minutes. They then had a half-hour window. And then he came on with Black Sabbath and did 4 songs.
Brilliant.
And it's just amazing.
Fueled by Greg's, I hear.
Fueled by Greg's, yeah. Apparently Jason Momoa was eating the cheese and bean melt. He had 2 apparently. But I mean, Greg's love that. They literally text like, we're backstage. And I was like, why?
Cheese and bean melts. I love it. Well, completely different vibe. Ellie, obviously you've been out living the rock life. For all those people that are at home watching telly, Rod, while you're here, I'm desperate to hear from you what we should all be watching on the box.
Well, actually, it's a strange time of year because obviously it's just before we get into autumn and you've got sort of Strictly, Traitors, The Jungle, all that kind of thing. But there are some real gems out there. I mean, I think the one that I would say to people to watch, it begins this weekend, is Lena Dunham's Too Much. It's on Netflix. It's a brand new comedy. And in a world of very mediocre comedies these days, this stands out because it's incredibly dry. It's very much in the same sort of vibe as Fleabag.
What's it about?
Well, American woman, New Yorker, called Jessica. She is obsessed with British period dramas. So she wants to be Jane Austen. She wants to be kind of anyone from any Brit flick, like she wants to be Bridget Jones. So she comes to London and thinks she's going to be living in a lovely country estate, or she's going to be like doing a Bridget Jones and, meeting Hugh Grant and all that kind of thing. Anyway, she ends up in a council flat and she meets this guy who's not that. It certainly isn't Hugh Grant. Anyway,
surprise.
And then it's just about how this unfolds, how she navigates the concrete jungle that we all know is the real London, as opposed to what she sees. But it's so dry. Anyone that knows Lena's work through Girls and other shows will know she's just like so funny, incredibly clever, and just very modern without being overly woke. I mean, actually, there's one point in this where they sort of slightly mock wokery. It's kind of very 21st century, but it just avoids being too namby-pamby-ish. It's got some edge to it. And
nice.
it's cool.
That sounds good. Okay, what's next?
And then I would recommend The Assassin. It is this brand new drama coming out on Prime Video. It's got Keely Hawes in the lead role.
She's amazing.
Well, she is amazing. And yet we know her for sort of, the last thing she was in was another period drama, bonnets and wicker baskets and everything. In this, she's an absolute kick-ass assassin, as the name suggests. You see her caving in people's heads, blowing their brains out, fighting with them. She's on motorbikes, guns galore. It's absolutely amazing. She plays a retired assassin, and her son is Freddie Highmore. And then they have to go on the run from these other baddies. But it's just a show that shows her in a totally different light. So anyone that knows Keely will want to watch this and see her doing this completely different thing. So,
that sounds like, because after Day of the Jackal, I feel like I've had something missing, because your TV picks are always incredible. Because you told me about Amanda Land, watched, amazing.
Yeah.
Day of the Jackal, watched, amazing. So I'm definitely going to watch those.
Yeah. No, there's some good stuff around. It's just every summer it always gets a little bit. People start going on holiday, including all the TV commissioners, and basically a lot of airtime goes unfilled. But I would say that there's some little gems out there. Just look for them.
Top binges. Nice. What are you binning and binging this week?
I'm binning Ticketmaster. I just had it with them. They're just annoying. So
after the Oasis saga.
Well, dynamic pricing. Then obviously everyone knows that Lewis Capaldi's obviously had this amazing comeback, these 17 huge arena shows. Now they sold out in less than 10 seconds. It was wild. Everyone. Ticketmaster will hate me. So from Balance, quite a few Ticketmaster say they wait in the queue like everyone has to in these stupid online queues, get to the front and it freezes. Done. You can't get your tickets. So many people missed out. And I think, why can't someone in their IT department just make it a bit better?
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, Ticketmaster.
Fair.
You're in the bin.
Bin. Roddy.
I am going to hell for saying this, but building the band sucks.
So this is Liam Payne's magical final project.
And this is why I'm going to hell.
Punchy.
Because I really don't want to say that it sucks, but it does. In itself, it's not a terrible show. But what Building the Band is a mishmash of so many other talent shows, most notably The Voice, and a little bit of Love is Blind thrown in there. So basically, it's all about these singers. They're all in their own little booths. They can't see one another, and they have to select one another based solely on their voice to be in their band.
But why don't you like it? That sounds great.
It is good, but when you've seen... well, this is the thing. I'm very old. I hold my hands up here.
Not.
Well, I am. And I've had 20 years of watching all of these reality shows, people going on journeys, people crying, people having bus stops, romances between groups, yada, yada, yada. We've seen it all on X Factor. It's the same thing here. It's just same ends, different means. And also, because Liam is quite a long way into the series, you don't see him till several episodes in, it doesn't even have that element. But it's just it's so derivative.
It sounds rubbish. They stand in a box and they can't see each other, and then they have to pick each other to be in the band.
Don't get me wrong, that element, that novelty factor is quite novel
I'm
in the
just
beginning.
hearing from security that we've got One Direction fans banging on the door. So,
oh yeah, well,
They'll help take you to hell.
oh god, no. I mean, look,
right, Roddy.
Yeah, sorry.
What are you binging?
I'm binging Superman. The film was out this week, a very good film. And also, if you are wondering what the heck it's all about, because there will be a lot of millennials and Gen Zs that will be thinking, what is this, Superman? Go and watch the originals from the 1970s and then watch the most recent ones from, in the last 10, 20 years. And then you'll see how good this one is. So that's my little tip for binging. Go and see Superman and all the other Superman films if you've got time.
Who's the hot guy that plays Superman? Is it Henry Cavill again?
No, David Sweat. He is a very good-looking bloke, but he's also like a classically trained actor. So he's not just there for the muscles and the sort of blue eyes and everything. He's actually very good in the role.
The hottest guy we've not heard of yet, which makes it even more exciting.
But you will soon. I think that this will be the thing that launches his career into the stratosphere.
We'll be binging him.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I am binning the fact that Formula One has been taken over by influencers. So my dear dad loved Formula One, and he would absolutely be turning in his grave at the fact that Elemis, for example, had a facial station just off the pit lane at Silverstone last weekend. No.
Why?
If you're going to have influencers there, at least make it relevant to the event. So Evian and Wimbledon, that makes sense, anything along those lines for Formula One, edgy footwear, technology, any of that ilk, fine. Facials at Formula One?
You also, your face would be covered in dust from dirt from the cars. And then obviously you get it all washed off with a facial, but then it goes straight back in your pores.
Who's going for those facials? That's the thing. I mean, what is it? Is it the drivers?
Influencers that don't care about Formula One. I'm sorry, on behalf of my dad, binning. Sorry to be so predictable, but I'm binging Love Island still.
No, what flick? I didn't know you like Love Island. You should have told us.
I don't watch it. Even I've heard it's very good, this series.
So we've just had Casa Amor, and it was really, really good. They threw in someone's ex. Everyone was doing bits from the off. The first night of Casa Amor, maybe 4 hours after the new Casa girls arrived, they were doing bits in the bedroom.
Oh.
And again, I'm very aware I sit here and I sound like a perv, but I just want to see this frivolity from people,
It's a bit light-hearted, isn't it, given all the bad stuff that's going on in the world? To lose yourself in a show like Love Island.
I know.
Worst things in the world.
Long live Love Island. Also, 2.5 million people are watching every episode.
Well, I was just going to say this to you. The ratings are pretty impressive, aren't they? I mean, they've started to sort of pick back up after a bit of a lull. But I don't think Love Island's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. I think we're going to be sitting here in 5 or 10 years' time. Well, I won't be. I'll probably be dead. But, we'll be sitting here 10 years' time talking about Love Island and how well it's still doing.
Yeah,
I really think it's a brilliant formula.
And those One Direction people will still be waiting outside, ready to lynch
I know.
you.
That's what I meant. I won't be here in 5 or 10 minutes' time. Anyway.
Amazing. Right, well, that's your Showbiz Fix for the week. And you can get a whole lot of telly and entertainment tidbits if you subscribe here at Sun Showbiz on YouTube. And you can hear us in your ears wherever you get your podcasts. See you next week.